Hello everyone, and welcome back to Pursuit the podcast. If you're the type of person who gets mad a lot, and don't get mad at me for saying this, you're taking things way too personally. That's it. You're taking things way too personally. My friend Samuel recently is teaching me about the ego, which is part of what's got me thinking about all this. And okay, before you get defensive here, ask yourself this. How often do you intentionally try to make people feel bad? Like actually go out of your way to hurt somebody, especially the people who are close to you? Probably almost never. At worst, you're probably acting in your own self-interest and you're unaware, you're ignorant to how it affects somebody else. Meaning, now apply this to other people. People are not inherently upsetting you. Your interpretation of what they're doing is upsetting you. So if you're not trying to hurt people, why do you assume that everyone else in the world is trying to hurt you? They're not. They're just living in their own world and putting their ego first. The core idea that's been in my head is that everybody sees reality through their own lens. And I'll give you an example of the same event that could be interpreted two completely different ways. So, this happened to my best friend, and her boyfriend was visiting her from out of town. And in the morning, she spent a little bit of extra time with him in the morning, and she was not right on time to work. That's the situation. So she thinks I'm being intentional. I want quality time with my boyfriend. I'm going to take the morning a little bit slow. I'm not going to rush to work. I'm going to spend time with him. Yes, I'll be late to work, but I want to spend time on my relationship with him while I have him for a short amount of time. He thinks she's being lazy. She's not disciplined because she's not getting to work in her desk right at 8 a.m. Same situation. Both people interpreted it in different ways. And this just goes to show that we see reality the way that we want to see it. Not even that we want to see it, the way that we just do see it. And it depends on what our values are and what's important to us. For her, the connection's important. For him, the discipline, quote, of being at work on time is more important. And we put those views on other people. You see what I'm saying here? We're putting what's important to us on other people. And they're acting in a way, reacting what's important to them. Once you understand this key idea, you will judge people less. You will get mad at people less, because you understand that they're just acting not even by conscious choice of what their values are. So when you get mad, what is actually happening? You're not reacting to reality itself, to the facts. You're reacting to your story about the reality. And here's the secret, you guys, is if you can create this narrative and this story, you can also change the story. Most anger comes from one thing: assumptions. You assume that they meant to disrespect you, that they don't care, that somebody's lazy, that they're inconsiderate. But most of the time, you don't actually know that. If you're angry, most of the time there's some assumption being made or some information that you don't have. In fact, most of the time, there are only really two real explanations for behavior or lack of behavior that makes you feel a type of way. Number one is ignorance. They do not realize how they're coming across. Go back to the very first thing that I asked you. When you make somebody feel upset, you're probably not trying to make them feel upset. you just don't realize how you're coming across. Number 2, self-focus. The ego. The ego is strong with humans. All right, they're thinking about themselves, not about you. That's it. And that's not malicious. That's the key here. It's not malicious. It's not some grand plan to ruin your day or ruin your life. So many people just go on living their lives thinking that everybody's out to get them. Even the strangers that they meet, the people who cut them off in traffic, like, no, nobody. I promise you, nobody's trying to ruin your life and ruin your day. You're just taking things way too personally if you really think that life is like that. And I'm sorry if that offends you. Sorry, but it's like what Marcus Aurelius says, is whenever you are offended, consider what underlying belief makes you feel this way. So the problem isn't the thing that actually happens. It's the meaning, all this meaning that we as humans attach to it. So what you can do about this is what I call relentless assumed good intent. And you train yourself, if you don't naturally think like this, you can train yourself to think they didn't mean it like that. They probably don't realize that they're doing this. And finally, there's something that I don't know. Is this always true in every single situation? No. But it's very useful in a lot of the mundane, or not even mundane, but common struggles and like interpersonal struggles that we might have in our day-to-day life and at work and in relationships. Because one way of viewing a situation, like for example, viewing your girlfriend as not disciplined, could make you angry and like resent her, and then another could see, oh, her value is spending time with me, so I'm going to see that. I don't have to agree with that. I don't have to have the same value as that, but if I can see how she's coming to it, the situation, we go, okay, I understand that. And I think that's a key of why I barely get mad at anybody, because I just always understand that if I'm mad or if I feel a type of way, either there's a piece of information that I'm missing about the situation, somebody's belief, for example, or they don't realize that they are saying that and it's making them feel bad, So let's go a little bit deeper still than just assumptions. So I've also been thinking about expectations. So we as humans love to assign these roles to people. We assume people, we give people the role of a boyfriend. So he's my boyfriend, so he should act like this. This is my parent, so they should do this. This is my coworker, so they should do this better. But here's the uncomfortable truth that people have a hard time accepting. And I had a hard time accepting this with some relationships in my life, is titles don't guarantee behavior. Titles in and of themselves do not mean that somebody should act a certain way. Instead, ask, what is this person actually showing me? And accept that. Because the second that you create an expectation of somebody, you create the possibility of disappointment. And I've experienced this in all sorts of interpersonal relationships in my life. And it actually just happened to me recently, where I had expectations of somebody in my head. It's not like I communicated them. And then the person didn't do this thing, and I was disappointed. But then I realized in that moment, I was like, oh, Anya, you had an expectation of them that, one, you didn't even communicate. So that's one. And two, like, just because they have this title doesn't mean they should or shouldn't act a certain way. That's all just made up by humans. And I think this can make you a happier person because you see people as just another human. You don't see them as your sister necessarily. You don't see them as your best friend necessarily. You don't see them as your dad or your mom or your coworker per se. You just see them as another human doing their little human things and having their little human lenses and assumptions and them living your life. Like, the relation to you shouldn't okay, I'm hesitating here because on one hand, if you call somebody your best friend, there is a level of, well, see, that's the thing. There's a level of expectations that come with that title. And so I think the best titles are ones like that just really come naturally. Like, okay, the person's acting to you in this type of way, and so naturally they become your best friend because they do the things that a best friend, quote, does. But take the relationships that you don't necessarily choose, especially with your family. Like, you didn't, and I'm not even saying this because I have any problems with my sister, it's just the most prime example that's coming to my head. Like she didn't ask to be my sister. I didn't ask to be her sister. She just is my sister. But she's also just another human. Like, she's just another human in this world. So, like, I'm not gonna have a certain expectation of her. I'm just gonna accept how, the human that she is. And I'll leave you with a very simple framework that comes from my mentor. And there's 3 rules. Number 1, stay curious. Number 2, stay flexible. Number 3, stay positive. And I've begun to apply this in so many situations in my life, and this one really hits home on the stay positive one. So instead of reacting, you ask, what else could this mean? What belief does this person have? What am I assuming right now? What am I assuming about this person based on their actions? And what's the most useful way to see this? Like, is there a way that I could see their action in a positive way? Like, if your parents are really anxious about you, can you reframe that and say, oh, they care about me. Like, I'm so blessed that I have parents that care about me and worry about me, That's how you stop being an angry person. So at the end of the day, I'm telling you, nobody is thinking about you in this malicious way. Just like how you do not do things to other people in a malicious way. So when you stop taking everything personally, you become a much less angry person. And honestly not mad at people hardly ever, because you understand that they're probably ignorant to what they're doing. They don't understand that it's making you feel a type of way, and you can transmit that in a way that's more positive. Like, positive, that last point, stay positive, it's not about always being happy. Happy does not mean positive necessarily. Positive just means moving forward in a productive direction. It's just like a kid. Like, when I was a kid, I used to drive my mother insane because I would forget things all the time. Like, I would leave the garage door open and I'd leave the water running, and I'm sure this drove her insane. But it's like, as kids, we're just ignorant. We're just ignorant to these things that we need to double check. And so, like, we still have that in us where we just don't understand how our actions are coming across. That person doesn't understand that their actions are making you feel the type of way. And when you kind of just forgive, when you kind of just like release that anger all the time, it's like they just don't know. They just don't know that they're making you feel that way. And you can communicate to them, like pick the things that you want to communicate. You don't have to be a doormat and just like take everything. And if somebody, like, the key is, like, the difference is when somebody is intentionally trying to make you feel a type of way. Like, those people, yeah, I mean, in that situation, it's better to remove those people in your life. I mean, I would do it in a calm, not really dramatic fashion. That's just my style. But the key is understanding the intentionality here. And also, another key with this is relentless accountability. this really stuck with me on a podcast, and they were saying how even when the girlfriend had cheated on the boyfriend still took accountability for why the girlfriend cheated on him. And the example that he gave was just this relentless questioning of, how did I influence this situation? I just had a situation recently, and the details are way too intimate to share on here, but I could have gotten mad in that moment of like I thought that I made this clear that I did not want this thing to happen, and then the person did this, and I could have just exploded in the moment. And I had that impulse. As somebody who's not angry, that's very weird for me to get that impulse, but I got that impulse of just being like, why would you do that? But I stopped in that moment. I was like, what part of this did I play? What did I not make clear enough? Because obviously if they did it and they're not, an insane person, which most people aren't, they're not going to do something if you know that you don't want them to do it. So somewhere along the line, again, there was a piece of information missing. And the piece of information missing was that I didn't want this person to do this, and they did it. So instead of responding to that situation with anger and blaming, I instead practiced relentless accountability. And I said, one, I confirmed that their intention was not to do that. That's the first, is confirm that their intention's not to do that, and that they didn't know. More not that their intention, but that they were ignorant to the fact. And ignorant has a bad connotation, but I don't mean it in a negative connotation. I just mean they didn't understand that I didn't want that to happen. And then it was okay, taking relentless accountability, saying, I didn't make this clear enough, and that's on me. The phrase that this podcaster used was, and that's on me, because I find that you can resolve conflicts a lot easier when you're like, okay, and this part is on me because I did this, instead of always shifting the blame to someone else. And I know it's hard in that moment, because in that moment, I did, like I said, as somebody who doesn't explode on people, I had the impulse to explode, but I didn't, and I'm happy about that. And I wanted to share that with you. Maybe one day in the far future, I can share what the example was. Okay, now that's everything I wanted to share with you. How to not be an angry person. Being able to see all sides of situations. It's a blessing and a curse. Okay, now a little life update, because I'm saving this at the end for anybody who wants to keep listening. The biggest change in my life was I recently got my first EMT job. So I work in what's called freestanding emergency departments. So it's basically a detached emergency room, and it's with the big hospital healthcare system, and then we have several freestanding emergency departments, and I'm an EMT there, and I work the night shift. And oh my gosh, you guys, as an engineer in the healthcare field, I'm coming into this, I feel like an alien on another planet, or maybe like an alien on Earth, because I'm like, I identify so much as an engineer, and I'm with all these doctors and all these other EMTs and stuff, and I see the world through, again, like the lenses. I see the world through corporate America, and at the end of the day, being an EMT, a paramedic, it's a service job. You are serving the public. You're serving anybody who walks into our emergency department. And the relationship with coworkers, it's a lot more people focused. At my engineering job, we would never talk about people as individuals, in the sense of, we always say this department, structures gave us this analysis, or does materials engineering approve of these numbers? Whereas I find so far in the hospital setting, it's a lot more relationship focused, instead of purely focused on the technical, at least when it comes to kind of day-to-day functioning. And then it's also very interesting because there also is this highly technical side when it comes to running labs. So in our emergency department, we as EMTs run all of the labs. So literally when somebody takes your blood, we take it back, we uncap it, and we put it into the machine. So I'm back there in the lab pipetting blood into the lab devices, pipetting people's urine into different devices. And it's really cool and it's really precise, and there's a lot of rules for when things have to be quality controlled, and it's so fascinating. And it's like chemistry class, but a lot more serious because it's actual patient information and all the documentation on the computer and tracking, and like it's funny because it's very technical on one side, and then on the other it's very relationship focused. Like people are coming into you on some of their worst days and they're in pain, and it's sad to see. It's sad to see. Like, it definitely makes you grateful for your health, and it makes me very grateful for my parents' health, because I see a lot of people come in around my parents' age, and I'm just thinking, wow, like, I'm so grateful that my parents are healthy and that they do care for themselves and their bodies, like, and that we've been able to have access to healthcare our whole lives, and that maintenance of healthcare, dental care, just that regular maintenance from a young age, so that you can get into your 40s, 50s, 60s and still be healthy, is really a blessing. And I also like it because I feel I'm just exposed to so many different walks of life that I never would have. Like, we use this language interpreter app where we can call somebody live if people don't speak English. There's a lot of people that don't speak English, you guys, and they're speaking language like Farsi and some languages that it's the first time I hear of these languages, you guys, and these people are speaking it, and I never would have interacted with these people if I hadn't been here, with homeless people, with people on drugs, and also really wealthy people. Like, there was this guy who just moved from Silicon Valley, and he came to us right after he landed at the airport. Like, just you meet such a diverse scope of people. You're with doctors who have been to med school, like the top professionals in their field. And then, you are with people who this is their only ever access to healthcare. And you just meet so many different people, and I enjoy it because I do spend a lot of time, just in engineering, in the corporate world, around people who have been like the standard life, the standard life that I've lived, of grow up in the suburbs, comfortable life, go to college, everything like that. Then you go out into this world and you just meet all sorts of different people. So I have no doubt that I will compile my lessons as an engineer alien in the hospital and transmit them to you guys in a podcast episode. It's very fun. It's very challenging because I want to make sure I get everything done right. I want to take my time to understand people's ailments. I want to make sure that my medical knowledge is up to par. So I'm very excited about this pursuit. So that's the main update. And I moved to be closer to my job, which has been, it's great. I love my new apartment. My old apartment in where I used to live was great. Happy for the change. So that's what I got for you guys today. So happy that you joined me, and I will be sure to see you on the next one. Bye, guys.